If you need bed coverage from the Elements vertical space in the bed and exterior storage for your 2020 or newer JT Gladiator, this Wild Top soft truck cap with the integrated roof rack is a bed cover that you should be considering. Now, this is a solution to a number of different dilemmas. If you need a lot of covered space for your bed, whether you are taking your truck overlanding or camping, or you simply want an easy to use and accessible bed cover that can flex to your needs. Now, it also integrates that storage for larger items on top of the structure, which is not common, especially with a soft cap, setting this apart from other choices that may not have an all-in-one build that this option brings to the table. This hybrid style cap offers the vertical space and coverage needed for a variety of different scenarios, whether you are using the back as a sleeping space when you're camping or want a flexible cap that will cover your gear or other cargo that you're taking with you. Now, the soft top nature over the solid frame system makes it versatile, offering protection from the elements, coverage from wandering eyes, and has the ability to roll up the sides if you want more airflow going through or want to access your gear from the back or sides very easily. Now, on top of the frame system, there's also puddle bars here that are going to keep the soft top taut and supported, in addition to a double bar roof rack system to carry larger items like surfboards, kayaks, or really anything else that you can fit up there, and has a 770-pound static load capacity as well as a 220-pound dynamic capacity for some peace of mind that your stuff is safe and secure. Now, this system is made from a durable steel frame construction consisting of a 4-post system that attaches to the Mopar trail rail system or the Wild Top rail kit on the bed. Now, the roof rack portion is also made from durable steel and is an addition on top of the frame system for that extra support. Now, the main event here is the fabric covering the frame, which is made of a 16-ounce premium heavy-duty canvas material that is completely waterproof and durable to tough conditions. Now, the sides and rear windows also include some smaller but notable features like heavy-duty zippers, magnets, and straps to keep the sides secured and compact when they're rolled up. Now, this system is about $1,600 and is fairly average in price compared to other bed cover solutions. Now, looking at bed coverage as a whole, there are a ton of covers in this price range, hard bed caps, and even inflatable options. Now, this, however, stands apart from all of those with the vertical storage space, a more permanent build that you don't have to put on or take off or worry about at all, a soft cover nature if you do want that flexibility out of the configuration and the accessibility, and it has the integrated roof rack for that additional storage. Now, most other solutions I mentioned may bring some of those features to the table, but not all. So if your lifestyle requires those features or would make your adventures easier and more enjoyable, then this is a great solution for you. Install is a 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter and should only take about 2 hours or so to install. Now, at this point, I'm going to hand it over to one of our installers here, and they're going to show you a detailed breakdown on how you can get all of this mounted up to the back of your JT. So that is going to wrap it up for what I have to say. Let's go ahead and get into the install.
Tools required for this install include an impact gun, a ratchet, 17mm wrench, scissors or diagonal cutters, 6mm Allen wrench, 6mm Allen socket, 13 and 17mm sockets.
Also not shown here is a drill with a 1/8 drill bit, self-tapping screws, and a Phillips head bit.
So I went ahead and laid out all of the parts we need for our main hoop. Now, we have 2 of these. So important things to note are your brackets are pointed inward like this. On the top bar, your buttons are going to be pointed the same way as your brackets. Now, on the side pieces, for this one, we have a long Velcro strip. That's going to be facing the opposite direction of the bracket. Now, on the other main hoop, we don't have that long Velcro strip. We have a strip right here that needs to be on the outside of this frame. So we'll start building this up and get our hardware installed. Now, the orientation of our connector here is also important. This is the correct way. So I'm going to slide that into my 2 bars. And then I'm going to start putting my bolts through. Get my bracket in place. We've got a flat washer and a lock nut going on the other side. Now on the top here, we're only going to be installing the inner bolt for now. The outer one is what our roof rack is going to mount to. So we're going to leave that open for the time being. So get that in place and then take a 6mm Allen wrench and a 17mm socket to tighten these down. Do that same thing on the other side. Now on the bottom, we're gonna install our base. This U-shape's gonna wrap around our bar. I'm gonna slide that in and then pass my bolts through. And then this piece is gonna go on the inside. And then we'll do that same washer and nut on there. Now while you're tightening this, you want to make sure that the holes on both sides of this bracket are lined up. And then 6mm Allen wrench and 17mm socket to tighten this. And then repeat that process on the other side and repeat the whole process for your other main hoop. Next, we're going to connect our two main hoops with our side pieces. Now the orientation on this does matter. The piece with the logo is going over on that side. This main hoop is the one with the Velcro on the back, just for reference. Now this has two buttons on the inside, and just like these are going to be pointed inward. So now I'm going to pick up my first sidebar, and we're going to slide it down into that square hole. And then just get your bolt hole lined up. Now I'm just going to take a rubber mallet, just tap this the rest of the way through. And then get your flat washers and your lock nuts on. And then we're going to tighten this down with that 6mm Allen wrench and 17mm socket, and then do the same thing on the other side. Now we need to slide our bars into the end caps here on our front hoop. And then we can install our hardware. Now grab two more bolts, slide those through, tap them the rest of the way in. And then grab your 17mm socket and 6mm Allen socket, tighten that down. And repeat on the other side. Now we need to install our crossbars across the top. Now our front and back one need to be 12 inches from the front and back bar, and then these two need to be evenly spaced in the middle of them. So I'm going to take a tape measure and go 12 inches and center that up. Do about the same on the other side. And then you can push this down into place. Now we can push that down into place. And now we're going to measure between these. And we've got about 33 inches, so we're going to go 16.5 on each. Now that we've got our front and rear spaced out properly, we need to measure between these. And we're at about 33 inches. Now we have two bars, so we're going to need to divide this by 3, so that's going to be 11 inches. So we want our first one at 11 inches, our second one at 22 inches, and then they'll be evenly spaced out. So 11 is right there, 22 is right there, and then we're just going to get our measurements on the other side as well. So now we need to drill holes and run self-tappers in to hold our bars in place. You're going to want a 1/8 inch drill bit for this to drill a pilot hole before you run your self-tapper in with a Phillips head screw bit. Now just make sure you do this one by one, checking your measurements in between as you go. This one needs to be slid over a little bit. And I'm going to take my drill bit and drill my hole. Switch over to your Phillips bit with your self-tapper, line it up and run it in. And then repeat the process for your other 3 on this side and the other side. Next, we're going to install our side rail. This is the one that's got 4 rib nuts on each side. Now the two that are closer together is what we're going to be using to mount it to our utility rails inside the bed. So these need to be pointed down in this orientation since I have this upside down right now. And then we have our hex head bolts with flat washers that we're going to be threading into those rib nuts. Then grab a 13mm socket to tighten these down. And then do that same thing on the other side. So now I've got my buddy here to help me lift this up onto our bed. Now you want to make sure that the corner pieces with the long Velcro strips are towards the back. Now we're going to attach our frame to our utility rail. So we've got these squares with a threaded hole. We're going to want to put 2 at the back of the bed. And then 2 up here. And then you're going to take your bracket. The shorter side's going up top, this side's going here. Now you definitely want to get these 2 started first because they're the hard ones. So I'm just going to get my pinky behind it to hold it in place while I thread a bolt in. I'm just going to move that out of the way to get this one set up. And then we can slide this to line up with the rib nuts up top. And we're going to be using those hex head bolts that we used here. And now just get your rack centered up. I'm going to tighten these 2 first to pull this bracket in and have it sit flush, and then we'll tighten the top. 6mm Allen socket to tighten these down. And then we'll get our 13mm socket for the top. Now do the same thing for the bracket at the back on this side and repeat the process on the other side. Now next we have to attach our magnetic straps to our buttons. We're going to do the ones on the side rails and the rear rail. We're not going to put any on the front. Find your buttons and then just snap them on. And then do the same thing on the other side. Now we need to lay down a couple Velcro strips. We have one that's going to go on this face of the bulkhead and one that's going to go back here. So we'll just peel back our double-sided tape and get this all lined up and then stick it down. I'm going to lay it into this channel and then start peeling my backing. Now as we get over to the other side, we are going to have to trim some excess. So just take a pair of scissors or diagonal cutters to make that cut. And line it up, work it the rest of the way over. And then we have our second strip that's going across the top. So just same thing. Stick it down at one end and then just lay it out and pull as you go. Now once again, we're gonna have to make a cut. So I'm just gonna make that now. So now we're ready to install our top on top of our frame. Now the side with the Velcro all the way across the bottom is going to be for the front. That's going on those strips that we just installed. Next, we need to slide in our rods. We've got one for our back panel and our 2 side panels. So you're gonna open up this zipper. That's gonna reveal this hole, and you're just gonna slide this over to the other side. And same thing here. Unzip this. We're also gonna stick this Velcro down while we're here. So just get that lined up and stuck down. And then there's that pocket on this one. Slide that in and all the way across. And then you can zip this up and do the same thing on the other side. Now coming to our front corner, we're gonna do that same thing, except our Velcro is a little thinner. So bring this up. We have our Velcro strip here and here. Just line it up, stick it down, and then you can zip that back up. So now on the back, we need to Velcro this down now. Now we have this flap that's gonna sit behind the bulkhead. And then we're gonna stick this down. Next, we're gonna install our 2 roof rack bars. Now there's one for the rear here, one on the front. They both install exactly the same. We've got a long bolt. We're gonna take a red washer and put it on that bolt. Put it through the hole in the top. Then we're gonna take another washer, another red one. Put that on. We're gonna put on our spacer block. And then we have this rubber pad. On one side it's flat, on the other it's got this diamond cut. The flat side is going to be pointed down. So put that on, do the same thing on the other side, we'll lift this up into place. So now we're going to come to the top. We've got our 2 bolt holes here. So we're just going to line this up and drop it down. We might need a rubber mallet to tap these through. Looks like one side we will. And I've got a flat washer and a lock nut that are going on the underside. And then we'll grab some tools and tighten this down. Now grab a 17mm socket and wrench. Tighten those down, do the same thing on the front bar. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the Wildtop soft truck cap with integrated roof rack for your 2020 and newer Jeep Gladiator JT. Thank you for watching, and for all things Gladiator, keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.